Well, today, everybody, in this video, we're going to be talking about what I feel are the most disappointing aspects of the NAMM Show here in 2024. I just got back from the NAMM Show this past weekend out in California, and it was great. I had a lot of fun, man. It was great meeting all of you guys on the floor, as well as my peers, and anybody and everybody in this industry. It was such a joy to be there. But being a fan of creating music and playing guitar and just looking at cool right? I was a little disappointed with a few things that weren't at the show. Now, before I say another word, this is just one man's opinion, all right? Like, it's just, I, as a fan of looking at cool things, was bummed I didn't see something. And that's where that starts and ends. Like, it's literally not that serious, okay? So with that all out of the way, be sure to follow me on Spotify. I really appreciate it. I have sick riffs. Be sure to like this video and be sure to subscribe to my channel, please. I really sincerely appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. You won't be disappointed, and it would just mean a lot, all right? With that being said, let's get into my list on what I felt were the disappointing aspects of the NAMM Show. Let's address the elephant in the room right now. I think everybody would probably agree at my first bullet point, and that was like the umbrella bullet point of my video. And that is, there were so many companies that I'm interested in that just weren't there at all. I'm looking at my notes app on my phone here. I made a list of some of the companies that I could think of off the top of my head prior to making this video that weren't at the show. Gibson/Epiphone, Marshall, Orange, Fender, EVH, Charvel, Mesa Boogie, Solar, Kiesel, Jackson. I probably missed one or two as well, but yeah, man, just like out of all those brands that I named, like what's my demographic? What do I love to check out? What do I like to play? Like all of those brands, right? So, you know, I had such a joy checking out everybody's booth. Don't get it twisted, but I have to be honest with myself, and you know, there's nothing wrong with saying I was bummed out that those brands weren't there. Now, obviously, it's easy for one man's opinion to be like, oh, why didn't you spend several $1,000s to go to the NAMM Show, right? Yeah, like easy for me to say. The NAMM Show is very expensive. It costs a ton of money to ship all your stuff out there. It costs a ton of money to, you know, have an actual booth on the floor, etc. And I guess too, not to mention like flights, hotels, food, gas, Ubers, all the above. Like it's a huge expense. So I'm very mindful of that. And like, you know, it's totally cool why anybody didn't want to go, and it's none of my business. But again, being a fan, devil's advocate, I would have loved to have seen like the new Jacksons or the new Charvels. Like, you know, that would have been sick, right? It would have made for great content, and like I would come home and, you know, start making videos and giving my opinions and talking about them. But unfortunately, obviously, they weren't there. So that was, like I said, the huge umbrella point for this video. It's just like, yeah, man, so many brands weren't there, and kind of stunk. The next two bullet points I've kind of touched on. It pertains to the same company, and it's nothing egregious, it's nothing crazy, but it was just more of an affirmation and a confirmation of like when I got to the show, yeah, these things that I'm going to be naming weren't there. Both of these bullet points are in reference to ESP guitars. The first one, to the best of my knowledge, there were no new E2s. Now, there were a few E2s that I saw on the wall. However, there was nothing new to the best of my knowledge. And if I'm incorrect, by all means, I would love to be corrected. I'm not saying I'm right or, you know, I know everything. Yeah, I love when you guys correct me, and I know a lot of you guys are a lot more knowledgeable on certain aspects, and that's why, truly one of the reasons why I love creating for this channel, because, you know, it's just a dude sharing his opinions and his passions with his audience, aka me. I don't know why I'm talking in third person. I don't think I've ever done that. Anyway, dude, but long story short, like there was just like nothing new in the E2 lineup, and that was a bit of a bummer because the E2s are like the highest of quality that is like the most tangible, we'll say, and most reachable and feasible financially for like the everyday folk. E2s, in case you're unfamiliar, it's like it goes ESP, E2, and then LTD. And it seems like they threw everything into the LTD lineup this year, and that's awesome. Like LTDs are super sick, but like getting an E2 made in Japan, just like a fully spec'd out, beautiful instrument, like just, they're so sick, man. If you guys have never played an E2, like you should definitely try one. Yeah, it just seems like there was nothing new in the E2 lineup from ESP. And the second one, you know what's coming here, and that is in fact the signature Mick Thompson guitar, or lack thereof. And this is not a shocker to me, but again, similar to kind of what I said before, this was like a confirmation of, yeah, it's not coming out here in this January time, in the NAMM Show time. And I'm very mindful and very aware of the fact that, like, yeah, just because I and we all want to see something cool so we can buy it and just like rejoice in the new signature model, you know, it's totally fine that they're taking their time and like it's just not ready yet, or, you know, whatever the details are. It's none of my business, and it's nobody else's business except the people involved. But again, you know, just being a fan of music and excited to check out cool new things, and just the anticipation is pretty high. I would think it's very high, I would say. You know, everybody wants to see what Mick's going to roll out with his new signature guitar. Personally, I would love to see the Eclipse, man. That would be so cool. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be like very Mick Thompson, what we would expect with the ESP or E2 or LTD name attached to it, which is totally fine. But like, bro, a single cut, like an Eclipse, get out of town. I think that would be super sick. What if you went with the Jawbreaker, like just way out of left field and just threw everybody a curveball? Highly doubt it, but you know, maybe in a parallel universe or something like that. But yeah, everybody, I love ESP guitars so much. I mean, I talk about it all the time. That Arctic White, dude. Such an amazing instrument. So yeah, I'm allowed to be bummed because we didn't get, you know, some new shiny things from ESP. But that being said, they probably crushed it the most out of all the brands out at the NAMM Show. Like, their booth was sick. Yeah, great guitars. Yada yada yada. Okay, moving on. Another thing that I was a little bummed out that I didn't see much of, if at all. Actually, yeah, I don't think I really saw anything unless I missed something. But that is no amp sims or no plug-in companies there, to the best of my knowledge. Like no STL tones, no Joey Sturgis tones. But actually, sidebar, I actually met Joey Sturgis after several years of he and I knowing each other, right? And it was great, man. Like, it was nothing but love. It was cool to meet him. And we were just like hanging out, just shooting the breeze, just saying, you know, silly things, making stupid jokes as dudes do, right? But it was a really fun experience, man. And we were talking about like For the Fallen Dreams and stuff like that. And it was really cool, man. So anyway, but yeah, like there was no like dedicated booths to like some of my favorite plugin companies. Again, it makes sense, but I'm always interested in seeing what could help out my workflow, what could make me more creative as a, you know, creating original music or anything like that, or just whatever, man. I'm always down for it. You know, the plugin market can be viewed as being a bit oversaturated anymore, but I like new things. Like it's always like thrill of the hunt. You never know what you're gonna get out of a product, a plugin, creatively until you get it. So, you know, it's something interesting. Like, I remember when I was watching the NAMM Show from afar, back when I was stationed in Southwest Georgia, formerly called Fort Benning, Georgia. I remember seeing like Joel Wanasek, for example, like doing product reviews and demos, or not reviews, product showcases of JST stuff. And yeah, I don't think any of that happened this year. But however, my biggest disappointment was in fact from a plugin company, and that was Neural DSP's booth. Before I say another word, love Neural DSP. We don't really work together, but like I always push their products. I always use their products. Like, it doesn't change the fact that like I love Neural DSP. So I have to say that because people take everybody's words and run with them. But like, I love Neural DSP. However, their booth was interesting. In case you guys missed it, it was a great marketing tactic. I will give, you know, credit where credit's due. It's very Neural DSP. Their whole shtick, their whole like marketing campaign is always like soon, sooner, soonest. And they put a big giant soon, I don't know what you call that, sign, display, sculpture, I don't know what you call it. It's just this big, you know, soon in the middle of the floor, and it had the Neural DSP N on the corner of it. And I saw that on Thursday, and I saw it, and I was just like, oh, like soon meaning this weekend, like something's going to come out Friday or Saturday or something, like they're teasing it for the weekend. But then like Saturday rolled around, and it was still there, and it was just like this vacant lot, and I was just like, oh, I got it. I'm not the brightest. I was just like, oh, that's their booth. And I was kind of bummed at that. You got a booth. I personally would have just loved to just like have a representative from Neural DSP there just to communicate with the general public, because I think myself and a lot of people have a lot of questions about, it's called how it is, the inevitable quad cortex plug-in capability thing that has been teased for about a half a decade now. Neural DSP doesn't owe anybody shit, man. They don't have to tell anybody anything. But like I have genuine concerns as somebody who uses the quad cortex and travels with it and plays shows with it. I'm really curious, like, what's it going to visually look like? Like, is the interface going to look like the interface on the plugin? Like, is the face of the Plini plugin going to be on the quad cortex? Like, how's that going to translate? What's going to be the learning curve? Is it going to work the same? Like, I'm just very curious. And like, I'm not coming from a place of like criticism or like, you know, certain channels like to bash and be really hard on companies and stuff like that. That's not my bag. That's not my demeanor and how I operate and how I conduct myself. So I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, like, I would have loved to have just like had like somebody there so we could just communicate, just talk. And I'm not really interested in talking shop about like why it's taking so long, because that's a bunch of like computer mumbo jumbo that I truly would just be lost and would go right over my head. But just as a person who plays guitar and creates, I would love to know what the plan is. And, you know, like I said, they don't owe anybody anything, and they'll probably roll that out when the time's right. but I just found it a little interesting, like that was their marketing campaign for the NAMM Show. Like I said, great marketing tactic, very neural DSP. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know, when's that gonna happen, you know? I don't know, maybe I'm way off, maybe it's a hot take, you know, whatever, dude. But at the very least, I'm being honest with you. And in the words of Johnny Rotten, honesty is the most offensive thing, apparently.
I find honesty is the most offensive thing in the world.
And if Neural DSP has a problem with me saying I was kind of bummed at their booth, I can certainly go to bed just fine tonight. So all that encompassing, everybody, those are my thoughts and opinions on the NAMM Show. It was a great show. I had a ton of fun. It was so much fun. But I just wish there was a few things that I could have seen and could have experienced, and we, the general public, could have all seen together. That way we could just collectively talk about it and geek out as we always do. All right, so that's my intention with this video. Kind of like a downer subject, but like, dude, literally just wanted to see some cool things. All right. With that being said, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. Be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, and we'll talk all things NAMM 2024 again, all right? So, I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.